things. Welcome to another Monday. Here we are. Thanks for joining me. What can I say about today? It's been a really insane time, and there's just a lot going on. So I really wanted to hop on and talk about the different symptoms, talk about what you might be experiencing, and just remind all of you that you're not dying, you're just waking up. Everything that you're experiencing is super, super normal. I'm talking about random body aches and pains, headaches out of nowhere, fatigue, needing to eat a lot of food, not wanting to eat any food, so weird dietary things, weird digestive things, super vivid dreams, feeling, I think I might have said this, but feeling just tired, just exhausted constantly. It's still, we're getting the glitches in the matrix as well, like weird time things, like timeline things, weird like losing things and like misplacing things. And especially what I wanted to talk about is really sudden, really random shifts. So whether that is a crazy breakup that came out of nowhere, or a job loss that came out of nowhere, or some freak accident, or some freak encounter with a random person, there's a lot of movement that's happening right now, a lot of energetic movement that's happening right now that is actually seeping into our physical lives. So I wanted to talk about this and really kind of unpack these things, and then of course give you all some really great suggestions on how do you move forward from this point in time, and how do you navigate these crazy insane energies that we're all experiencing. So we'll unpack and get into all of that. Of course, as always, if you have not already liked this video, please go ahead and give it a like. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And honestly, this video is going to be a really great video to share with your friends and family members. It's not super intense, but it is super needed, especially for a lot of people who don't know what's going on, who have no idea that there's a shift taking place. So please share the video too on your social media platforms, or just internally to your friends and family. I really appreciate that. That really helps me out. So, okay, so in the past year, or sorry, in the past week, I have gotten a crazy amount of text messages from people all saying, what's going on? Me and my husband just broke up out of nowhere. Good friends of mine are having random breakups. Like, it's like a make or break point that's taking place right now. Unfortunately, like with us, we had to let someone go, which means that I'm going to be doing customer service, and I'm going to be doing like a lot of like internal stuff that we had someone else doing. So, it's, for me, it's kind of changing roles and getting a lot more busy and working more, which is awesome. I just want to be the content creator. I don't want to have to deal with emails and all of the other stuff, the iceberg under the water, of what this channel is, of what we provide to everyone. But I'm willing to do it. I did it for many years myself, so I'm willing to get back into it. So a lot of shifts, a lot of changes. Now, what I've been observing in the past week, if not, I would say the past 3 months, like if I was going to give this kind of a timeline, for sure the past week. And I have some things I want to talk to you about why things have been shifting so rapidly in the past week, but especially the past 3 months have been a lot of major shifts. And just like the thumbnail of this video suggests, there's a lot of foundational shifts that are taking place. And actually, in my Q&A video just yesterday, someone was asking about, I've been contemplating things for the past 8 months. with my partner. And what do I do about that? You're not alone. Like, actually, I want to ask all of you, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this afterwards, please make a comment if you feel comfortable with doing so about your foundations. Do you feel like you're stuck in between major foundations? Do you feel like in the past 3 months you've made a big decision based on your foundations? Do you feel like you have not made a big decision about your foundations, but you need to make a big decision and you don't want to make a big decision? Like, where are you at in your own life, in your own foundations, as far as making big decisions? At this point in time, we are all hitting a wall with what we were settling for. Yeah, this'll do. This is good. This'll work. This is okay. I'm happy. Settling with your foundations. And when I say foundations, I mean financial situation, I mean career situation, I mean relationships situation, plural, friends, family, lovers, whatever, neighbors. What else? Living situation, all of your major foundations, all right? So just know that we're all hitting walls and we're all having a very difficult time with, if you move forward, you're actually holding back your progress with your contracts. Like, literally, this is the make or break time, right here, right now. Make or break. Are you going to go for it, take the risk? Are you going to make a change? Are you going to move forward? Or are you going to continue to question, continue to feel and be stuck? And what happens, like, okay, yeah, I want to unpack all of this and like give you some suggestions and also tell you why that I believe this is all happening. Before I get there, I do want to mention last week was a really active week, even though, I mean, what is last week, right? But we had the Galactic Federation meeting for April last week. It was really incredible. We did talk a lot about the individual energetic shifts, and then there was a ton of disclosure about the light and dark battle and potentially some of the tactics that are going to be used on planet Earth that we can kind of see moving forward in the future. So if you want a little bit more insights, especially into this sort of topic, please check out the GFL recording. And then we also had the Heal the Grid event as well last week. It was so freaking powerful. The meditation at the end, I just did intuitively, and it was next level. So check out the Heal the Grid. It's where I basically teach all of you how to be your own grid worker, and then we actually go through a meditation and a guidance into grid working and astral traveling and all of that great stuff. So check out both of those. And then this week, which is just, it's nonstop. It's nonstop. On top of all of the interviews, on top of managing a team, on top of just life in general, just like living life, I've got the 2 coaching calls happening this Friday. Coaching calls are always I love all the events that I do, but coaching calls, without a doubt, are like top of my list. I do question a lot. I'm like, should I go back into one-on-one readings? Just because I really love channeling for people at an individual level. I really love, I learn something every single time I do a session, but it takes a lot of energy out of me, and I just don't have the time in my schedule right now to do that. So the coaching calls are the next best thing. We have a members-only coaching call where it's included in your Awakener or Creator membership. And then we also have a public coaching call for people who either want a second chance at the coaching call, or they don't want to sign up to be a member and they just want to experience the coaching call. So I take about 5 to 10 people in about an hour into whatever they need. It could be their chakras, it could be their blocks, it could be their past lifetimes, it could be whatever, they need to know. So definitely check that out if you're interested in potentially getting chosen and channeled by yours truly. It's always a really good time, and I always set the intention that whoever I choose is a mere representation of everyone at the same time. So, okay. So let's get back on track to the upgrades. First of all, I want to say that the reason why there's a lot of shifts and changes and upgrades and sleep issues and heating pattern issues and whatever at this time is because the main reason at this time in particular is we are getting hit with a ton of solar flares right now at this time. More reported solar flares than I think ever in history, but I mean, ever in recorded history, which how long really is that? And maybe some people look at that as a very scary thing, but I believe that the sun is an energetic provider. That's what I would call it. The sun is an energetic provider, and I believe that a lot of the sun's rays also include DNA codes or DNA activations. So as we lay out in the sun or we sun gaze, and you have to do that in a very appropriate manner, we actually receive these light codes from the sun. And I think that that's really powerful. So as we're getting hit with all of these solar flares and this plasma energy, we are kind of being forced to shit or get off the pot, as they like to say. And I think that that's kind of what's happening out there. So that's part of it. And then, of course, we're all just being forced to live our highest vibrational lives. And so we're getting forced to make big decisions about things that we've been preventing in making those big decisions and holding back on. I don't know, I'll let it go for another month. I'll let it go for another year, So, and I want to talk to you all about that, about what are you convincing yourself about at this time, So I want you to think about that. And what else did I want to say about big shifts in energies? Yes. What I recommend, okay, if you're in between, if you need to make a big decision, you haven't made a big decision, if you've already made a big decision or shit was just thrown out from underneath you and you weren't able to make a decision because it just happened, right, which is amazing. So if you're on the other side of it, way to go. You're just going to have to deal with the fallout or the aftermath of what just took place, whether it be an accident or a decision or just some random event. Yeah, there's always going to be some sort of fallout, which is fine, but you're on the other side of it. For everyone else who is not on the other side of it, here's what I recommend. Set the intention to be aligned to your contracts, let's say, set the intention to be aligned to your highest vibrational contracts. Set the intention to be aligned to your highest vibrational contracts. When you do this, be careful what you ask for because things will happen really rapidly. Now, of course, in the multiverse, there's an infinite number of different realities taking place simultaneously in this moment. There's a number of different timelines unfolding and folding in front of you all at the same time at a very rapid pace. And so when you set the intention to hop into the highest vibrational contract, which is, something that you set in motion before you came into this body in this lifetime, then you're setting in motion a realignment. Now, if you've been listening this whole time, especially over the past couple of years, if you've been listening, oh, this doesn't feel right, I'm not going to go in that direction, oh, I'm getting some red flags over here, I'm going to end this right now. If you've been really awesome at being a freaking intuitive, empathic starseed, then you will already be in full alignment with your highest vibrational contracts in this moment. If there are things that you have not made decisions on, because most likely if you're here, if you're watching this video, then you are aware of the red flags. You are aware of the disharmonies. You're aware of the dynamics around you. Maybe you feel like you're not powerful enough to change them. Maybe you feel like they will change eventually on their own. Maybe you feel like this is just an impermanent moment that you're going through. Whatever it is, all right? It means that where you're at right now may not be aligned to the highest vibrational contracts. So the second you set an intention and you repeat that intention and you focus on that intention, you actually start to pivot into the highest vibrational contracts. what that means is that anything else that is not in alignment, anyone else in your life, maybe it's a friend that contractually you could have cut ties and let go a year ago. But out of obligation or societal pressures or, oh my God, we've been through so much together, we're still here. Okay? If that's the case, then when you set that intention, all of a sudden something's going to happen to tear that friendship out of your life. And yeah, it might be really emotional and really difficult in the moment, but afterwards, you're going to actually feel relieved. Now, this is when you know you have shifted into a higher timeline. Is after, in the aftermath, yeah, there's healing, yeah, there's emotion, yeah, there's ego, yeah, there's attachment, yeah, there's all these things that we kind of grab onto in life and opportunities and fears and whatever. But maybe it's a day after that decision happens. Maybe it's a week after. Maybe it's a month after. Maybe it's a year after. But when you look back and there's a feeling of reprieve, and there's a feeling of relief, and there's a feeling of, I can just breathe. I'm not anxious for the first time in however. That is when you know you've shifted into and made the right decision or have accepted the right decision in a higher vibrational timeline. Okay? So that's what I recommend. Like, once again, especially when it comes to like partnerships, should I leave him? Should I stay with him? Should I leave him? Should I stay with him? I was like in that mindset for at least a year in my past relationship before I met Nat. And I was actually saying this in the Q&A yesterday. Those things are usually private, so I forget that that was public. And so I was just so back and forth. And finally, when I'm like, it's not about the decision of yes or no, because my ego is getting in the way of being clear about the decision of the yes or the no. The actual choice here is, I believe I am powerful enough, I believe I deserve the highest vibrational outcome or timeline in this moment. When you start to do that and you actually don't, you end up not needing to make a decision. The universe is like, boom, we hear you, we're on it, we're going to support you, and it's going to shift you into the timeline that is aligned with the highest one. Okay? It actually makes it really easy, even though I will warn you that in the moment it's going to feel like, I didn't choose this. This is out of my control. This is actually not what I would have chosen. I take the whole timeline thing back. I want to go back to what's safe or what's normal. All right? Just be aware of that. Okay. So things are breaking down. But what's breaking down is the old version of you. Now, likewise, there is an instrumental amount of healing that is taking place at a very deep internal level. So if you feel like you wake up and you're exhausted, if you feel like you're in the middle of your day and you're yawning, if you feel like you're at the end of your day and you could sleep for 2 days, yeah, totally. Healing, upgrades, release, all requires a ton of internal energy. So even though you're not actually working out all the time or exerting that sort of energy in a 3D sense, you're exerting a lot of energy in a 5D sense. So please take it easy on yourself. All right? Yeah, just take it easy on yourself. All right. I wanted to actually briefly mention intrusive thoughts and psychic attacks. Now, luckily, like on my end of things have been pretty good, but during a shift, during a transition, even during upgrades and like ascending to the next level and like, exploring your, psychic abilities, you're going to encounter intrusive thoughts. So basically, I just wanted to mention that intrusive thoughts are a really good representation of a psychic attack in a very small, hopefully small and minor way. Now, if you don't already know what an intrusive thought is, it's basically like you're going about your day, you're going about your life, and this random, super negative, usually really violent thought comes into your mind. Yeah, like just the other day, it was really like messed up. Don't judge me for this. But once again, I truly believe that that's not coming from me. It's not my own thoughts. I was driving, and this thought was like, what would happen if you just ran that guy over? And luckily, I'm not all the time, but luckily I'm aware enough of my own thoughts to be like, whoa, 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 that's messed up. Like, that's not my thought. Like, get out. Like, I don't know who you are, but get out. It was actually when I had to make a big decision last week, that whole day I had intrusive thoughts, and they were like really bad. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. Now imagine you're lonely, imagine you're upset, imagine you're depressed, imagine you're going through anxiety, like I think every starseed has experienced in our life. And then imagine the intrusive thoughts coming in. All of a sudden, you can't differentiate between that's not me and wow, like that's really me. What happens is if you take these intrusive thoughts as your own and you internalize them, you start to believe that you're a really bad person. How could I think that way? How could I even contemplate running some freaking guy over on the street with my car? Like, insane, right? Like, once again, luckily I had the awareness to recognize that's not me. I let you go. I cut cords with whatever you are, you know? But I can only imagine what the rest of the world is going through with these intrusive thoughts and not having the differentiation, okay? So I wanted to ask you guys, have you been going through intrusive thoughts? Have you been aware of intrusive thoughts in the past couple months, especially during these big shifts that are taking place? And typically what the intrusive thoughts or the entities will do when they come into your energy sphere, of course they can never be in your body and they can never control you. Typically, like a full-blown possession occurs when you are taking drugs and alcohol for a very long period in time. You're very depressed for a very long period of time, and unfortunately, you kind of leave your body and you leave the gateway open for something to come in. So anyway, so what the intrusive thoughts will do is project the worst case scenario, no matter what it is. And of course that's going to create more depression. Of course it's going to create more anxiety. Of course it's going to create more stress on you to project the worst case scenario. So what I recommend is if you are experiencing psychic attacks, if you are experiencing intrusive thoughts, and if you ever experience that in the future, then what I recommend is unconditional love. Understand that even if it's an entity, even if it is not your own thoughts, which is completely the case, that these thoughts coming in, these things projecting into your mind are not you. You're not that person. That's an entity that's literally coming into your energy sphere because you're going through a big shift, because you're opening yourself up, because you're not as solid and stable as usual. And that's okay, once again. So I recommend unconditional love. When you are able to actually be like, wow, like, I'm so proud of myself that I could recognize that that wasn't me, that wasn't my thought. I'm so glad that I'm not in that place to even have those thoughts, and I truly appreciate you, whatever you are, entity or otherwise, for making me aware of the difference between these thoughts and my own. Therefore, I now have the tools and the skills to differentiate so that I'm never caught off guard again, right? That kind of appreciation is going to give you the tools and raise your vibration so that it doesn't continue or progress. All right? If you can't find unconditional love for the thoughts or the experiences or the darkness, then literally just practice gratitude, and it will raise your vibration so that you will not experience those intrusive thoughts. Okay? Last thing I want to mention about psychic attacks and intrusive thoughts at this time is question your thoughts. Question them. Because the mind space is a very shared space. A lot of us think that it's like the most private aspect of ourselves, and in actuality, it's not. It's not private at all. It's very open. And you can make it private. You can lock it down with the right tools, but really question your thoughts. Really be aware of the input and the output of what you're thinking throughout your day. And that's going to really help you be sharp and aware of what's coming in. All right. Thank you, Sharma, for that beautiful super chat. Okay, so a couple more kind of like downloads for all of you. Timelines are speeding up. Like I got this message yesterday that everything's going at a very rapid pace. Where, like, how do I say this? 5 years ago, something that would have taken you a whole year to experience is now taking you a week to experience. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling anxious and you're feeling overstimulated and you're feeling exhausted, it's because you're running a freaking marathon at this time. Timelines are speeding up. We are being pushed to the highest vibrational timeline, and it's kind of like a no mercy push. It's like, come on, wake up. Like, once again, for all of us, it should be a little bit more graceful than the rest of the world. And when your friends and family who are still asleep begin to awaken, then you can step in and say, I know where you're at. I know what you're going through. How about you read this book? You're not dying. You're just waking up. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm kidding, but sometimes that's a great way to help someone out that you love, that's really going through it at this time. So just be aware that we are being pushed to align. We are being pushed to align. Anything that is not aligned, anything that is disharmonic is going to be really, really obvious in your life moving forward. Make a decision to align to the highest potential outcome. And because timelines are speeding up, glitches are still happening. There's a crazy amount of weird glitches, timeline hops, speeding up of time, slowing down of time. So just kind of being aware of that happening. Okay, and then I just want to mention, 2 more things. Right now, like, I don't know how else to say it. Through the people that I love around me and their experiences and their crazy shifts and their breakups and their, foundational movements and my own foundational movements, I've realized that in all of these scenarios, and I might be totally like alone in experiencing this or observing this, but what's been happening is you think something is one thing. And when it breaks down, you start to look at it and you realize it's the exact opposite thing. It's like drinking a glass of water and all of a sudden it's actually Gatorade and you're like, whoa, ew, gross. Or like imagine like drinking a glass of water, you're really thirsty and it turns out to be vodka. I only say vodka because they're both clear liquids. That's kind of what I've been observing lately, is this, like, to me anyway, because this happened in my own life, of thinking that this person is one way and then stepping out of the situation and realizing they are completely the opposite way. It was like disturbing. And the last time I felt this way was honestly when I was dating that really crazy shapeshifter reptilian guy. And I really thought he was like spiritual and open-minded in one way. And the second I removed myself from that, from the reality, I realized, whoa, this is the exact opposite of the way that I thought it was. So don't feel like you are a fool if what's breaking down and then you step away from what's broken down and you're like, wow, I really thought I was happy in that job and now I realize I was freaking miserable. Sometimes it takes us to step away from something completely to really see it clearly. Even for me, even though I thought I was like on my game with like my observations, I totally let this thing slip, and it was a really hard realization to look at it in the appropriate way and realize that I was kind of fooled the whole time. So yeah, so if that's happening to you, don't worry, you're not alone. Okay, so I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said that she was listening to a podcast. I always have to like emphasize that this is not my own, like, how do I say it? It's like not my own saying, but I thought it was brilliant. Like, I'm definitely the type of person to always give credit when credit is due. Like when I hear something from my wife and she channeled something, or something from my friend or my brother said something that he listened to from a podcast, I'm gonna say that that was the source of the information. And any other time you hear me talking about any other thing, it's completely channeled and coming through me. So it's an integrity thing that I always have to say, which is kind of an eye roll. Of course, before I get to this last point, please, please like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, that's okay too. I still love you and I'm grateful that you're here. And definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this, or other videos in general. It's great. And then definitely check out the Galactic Federation Summit recording from last week, the Heal the Grid recording, and the coaching call that's happening this week. I'm so excited for it, as I am every single month. So last but not least, all right, this is from a friend, from a podcast, from a friend. I don't know. It's not from me though. So this friend of mine told me the other day, she's like, yeah, like I always looked at life as, what's the worst that could happen? And I used to do the same thing all the time, right? We prevent disappointment in our life by expecting disappointment. And so this friend of mine said, all of a sudden, I started to ask myself, what's the best that could happen? And she said, my whole life started to change. My whole perception started to change. So I wanted to leave you off with that. Every single moment in your life, every day that you wake up, every meeting that you go into, every conversation that you have with your loved ones, what is the best that could happen? And by really stopping to ask yourself that question and to focus on that potential timeline, you're actually manifesting it. You're actually creating it. What is the best that could happen today? It doesn't have to be some crazy event. It doesn't have to be some epic showdown. Just in your everyday life, what's the best that could happen today? On this good old Monday. What's the best that could happen this year? What's the best that could happen in your life? Because you deserve it. And I'm glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you've chosen to take this time to show up, not just for you, but for the entire collective of humanity. We are here for unity. We are here to empower each other to live our best lives. We are here because we know deep down that we are here for so much more. And yet, everywhere we turn, we are just hearing that we're not good enough, that we'll never be good enough, that we don't deserve. And I'm here to kind of change your mind about that and to help you see yourself, because we are all mere reflections of one another, and we are all accumulations of everyone that we've ever been before and everyone that we will ever be in the future. And that being said, as always, I will see all of you in the fifth dimension frequency. And have a great rest of your Monday.